Well, this is lovely. I am so excited to have Emil here with me on Inspired to Build, because if there's anything that is inspiring, it's Kappa. So welcome, Emil.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, Erica. I really appreciate it on like Thanksgiving week too, where everyone's sprinting around and trying to get stuff done before holiday season. It's super exciting.
Yeah, I do. I do really hope that people are able to come here and be live with us. So if people are joining in live, feel free to drop a comment in the chat, say hi. If you are on LinkedIn live, you can just drop a comment. We'll see it here live and we can respond to you in the comments. So feel free to say hi, say where you're dialing in from, not dialing in because you're not on a phone call. That makes it sound like a conference call, but where you are listening in from, just say hi. It would be amazing to hear where you are listening from. And if you have any questions for Emil, you can also drop them there. We'll get to them. So please say hi. It's really awesome to have you here, everyone who are here. But I'm so excited to be here with Emil because I really enjoy Kappa myself, because we get to have the wonderful privilege, because I'm part of the Envoy community as part of the Cloud Native Computing Foundation, and Emil and team are so wonderfully generous to allow us to leverage Kappa for those open source projects, which I'm going to check the stats here because we have actual stats, real numbers. And it says that we boosted the support by around 668 hours, I think, in the, what is that, the last month, right? Or how is that? It's a month, it's monthly, right?
By default, last month.
Yeah. So that means that I have time to hang out with you for like 40 minutes or so here today, because saved time. It wasn't just me, it was the whole communities, but I think at least one of those 668 hours was mine, right? So
yeah,
you think that's fair?
all for you. I think that's totally fair. I'm glad it's coming full circle here.
Yeah, so I'll get to spend some time with you. And we have some people joining live. Hello, Colin. We've got Colin joining from upstate New York.
Hey.
Hello, Yuri. Lovely to have you here. So, and anyone else joining, feel free to say hi. Really appreciate you joining, because Kappa is probably, I'd say, one of the most exciting, but also I'd say a somewhat misunderstood AI application. I don't know how you feel, Emil. Obviously, you don't misunderstand.
I mean, I think all AI startups have lots of fun positioning challenges all the time, given how quick the space is moving. But I would say we're getting a firmer grasp over time of what exactly we help people with. So I'm super excited to get to share some of that and the story and how we work with folks.
Yeah. So first of all, who are you, Emil? Who are you? Where are you from?
Yeah.
And then what inspired you to create Kappa?
No, I freaking love it. That's a great setup. By brief intro, I'm Emil, one of the co-founders of Kappa. It's a company that's almost 3 years old now, started by together with my co-founder Finn and I. I'm Danish personally. I live in Copenhagen. And to give context on kind of the company story and kind of what inspired us to build it, it really starts with, I think, Finn and myself becoming very close friends, meeting at university in London, I think more than close to 10 years ago, when we both went off to pursue initially master's degrees in finance, thinking, all the cool kids, they move to London, they get a job in Canary Wharf and work at all the fancy banks, and tried that a little bit. And then
I did that. I did the whole fintech career thing.
Yeah. And here we are
on a live stream talking about AI.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. I didn't know that, Erica.
Well, now awesome. You know something about me.
Yeah. But went down that path. very quickly decided to like reverse gear. I kind of grown up, like my dad was a developer engineer. He had given me like an HTML, CSS book when I was, I don't know, 11, and always like a dad self-taught engineer, and had done like an internship in San Francisco at some point, like before Finn and I met to go to university to like do some hacking. But for whatever reason, like the finance path always like pulled me more. But then essentially what happened is I think Finn and I got so excited when we met that like, hey, maybe we shouldn't do this whole finance thing. Maybe we should just go like learn how to write better code than we can kind of do now, and change gears. So we finished our degrees and then actually went to study computer science, also in London. Did that together. Met a third friend, a guy called Ulrich. And the three of us were like, oh, one day we'll start a company. It sounds like the most fun thing to do. But at the time, we weren't really inspired to build. We didn't really have any good ideas. This was, I don't know, back in 2018, maybe 2019. So we ran off to get jobs, at least two of us, except for our one friend, Ulrich, who actually had a pretty good idea to do some cool computer vision labeling stuff. And he actually went off, like, I'm giving you the full story now, so stop me if you want me to fast forward. But he actually ran off to like build a cool company. It's now wonderful, like Series B backed YC company called Encore. They do data labeling, tons of users. It's a really, really cool company. And Finn and I was like, hey, that looks pretty fun.
You want to do something cool too?
Yeah. And we were like, I don't know, we spent like a few years working. I was working as a management consultant. Finn was working as a software engineer for like, I don't know, like very fast, low latency infra stuff. And every weekend we'd like get on the phone. We'd try to like figure out, hey, like, is there a source of inspiration? Go build something cool. Before we finally decided, you know what, let's burn the bridges. Like we're both working like 80-hour weeks. It doesn't work. We can't come up with an idea on the weekend. Let's just quit.
And you did not know what you were going to build.
Like our thesis was, if we give ourselves 6 months and like burn the bridges and get buy-in from our better halves, to say, hey, you guys are cool to do this, like maybe we can make something happen.
I think this actually goes into how I believe the name Kapa even came about.
Let's hear it.
Because for those who may not know, is that I cannot find I have tried to even ask Kapa on the Kapa docs where the name Kapa comes from, and it will not tell me. It will not reveal this information. So I have, with our mine and Emil's shared Nordic heritage, I believe, figured it out. So for those who don't know, there's a Norse god called Odin. And Odin wore a cape, a kappa, as he traveled across the realms to gather knowledge. He was a god who was always in search of knowledge. And when he was searching for knowledge, he was wearing this cape, a kappa. So I think that is where the name comes from, because Kappa helps you gather knowledge. And as you were searching for what you were going to build, Emil, maybe you were wearing a cape. Yeah.
Honestly, whatever the actual reason behind the name is, like, will never be shared. This is a 10 times better story and narrative. Congratulations, you now invented like Kappa lore.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's all about the cape.
It's all about the cape. It's such a nice metaphor.
That in the search of knowledge across the realms. Because that is what the sources are, right? For those who don't know, when you get knowledge for Kappa, you have all of these sources, which really are realms, right? I mean, I think I'm going all in on this at this point.
Yeah. The dashboard being like Valhalla.
Yeah. There's all the realms. No, it's like the world. You have like the world view, right? You can see everything and all the realms at once. Oh my God. I'm in on this at this point. You need to have like a theme day.
All right, I'll report back with the whole Kappa team dressed in Viking costumes for our next offsite.
Yeah. So, okay, I'm sorry for those who do not know Kappa. I think we need to actually recap for everyone who's listening. What is Kappa, and why am I going on about sources and realms of knowledge, and what is going on, Emil? So, what did you and Finn come up with?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's the perfect segue. Our friend ran a dev tool, and he was complaining to us as we were looking for ideas that a lot of his engineers were being interrupted all the time by their customers to answer pretty repetitive technical questions that probably could have been answered if their users had just read the frickin' docs.
Just read
That was it. Yeah, just go read the docs. And this perfectly overlapped. Like timing couldn't have been better. We heard this complaint a week after ChatGPT launched, and like Finn and I had tinkered around with like early versions of GPT-2. I was one of the first folks to get my hands on like the OG Codex APIs when they came out the summer before. Like I love tinkering with this stuff. So like we immediately built a prototype for a friend, and then just started like circulating this around to see, hey, this was helpful for a friend, this bot that could answer his technical questions. Let's try to like see if other people, like if there are Ericas out there that would find this helpful. And fast forward to today, that's very much what Kappa it's very much what Kappa still is. Like what we do is we work with very technical companies, not just developer tools, but any companies that have quite technical products, and let them build AI experiences on top of those that can answer technical questions, whether it's on your developer docs or as part of your support flow or directly in app as an AI assistant embedded in your product. Or like my favorite use case right now is Bamboo Lab, the big 3D printer company. They automatically debug errors on their printer with Kappa. It'll send it to the...
Isn't okay. Maybe I'm wrong, or if I'm right, when I use Netlify.
Yeah.
Is that Kappa?
It's Kappa too.
Yeah. Right. The little is that the debug when things go wrong? Because it goes wrong for me sometimes. I got to be honest. Yeah, it does. I know that I seem like I get most things right, like the Odin story, but sometimes I get things wrong. And but we do have a comment, by the way, Emil, about the story, the original story. Is this correct?
Amazing.
I bet the real name has something to do with completing.
It's actually way lamer than that. I'll give you the very quick real story. After our friend used the initial prototype, I mentioned like I wanted to get a little bit of like kind of test the waters. Could we sell this to anyone else? Is there some market demand? Because we couldn't tell our friends' worth that this was a good idea. So we managed to, just by like doing a bit of outreach, managed to sell a prototype to a customer like pretty early on for I think $250. Still the best like money we ever made because it was just like some like early validation. And as part of that, we had to like build a Slack bot for this team within like a couple of days. And we're just sprinting to build. And at the end, like 30 minutes before like meeting them to deploy it, we had to like give the Slack bot a name. We didn't have a name at the time. So I was sprinting, like I need a quick domain. Ideally I can get something .ai to kind of capture the zeitgeist. And I was like, I think I was skimming through like the Wikipedia page for oracles. And in ancient Hawaiian lore, I believe that Kapa is a type of cloth that is used to activate these oracles around like the islands. And kind of the metaphor kind of plays out a little bit there, where it's like you need the cloth to activate like the oracles and make them useful. I was like, I did.
So it's still like not that bad, but you didn't run with it after that. You kind of just let it go.
It's not for me to impose. I mean, the real reason was 4-letter domain.ai. It's like, cool, we'll take it.
Yeah, you just needed 4 letters.ai. Okay, I'm with you. And you were just scrambling for something that wasn't already taken. that was happened. But now you got my story, which I just made up because Kappa did not answer. The Ask AI on Kappa Docs did not tell me anything. So I just had to use my own imagination. And I just assumed, I made an assumption because of our shared heritage in that's what I worked with. So
we'll go with that.
that's where I went. But okay, so you had something, you sold something, you had something that was working, and but I think that is quite fascinating though, because you built this, and someone who, like me, I've had the privilege, as I said, to use this in obviously in open source project capacity, but I do find it really fascinating. I'll tell you a couple of things about it, because I think this plays into where I really want to go next for this conversation about what it really takes to solve real user problems with AI features. Because, as I said, I tried to, I'm looking on my phone because I really want to explain what happened when I tried to ask it about the history. So it says, I am not able to guess because I tried to get Kappa to guess the backstory. The knowledge sources don't mention the origin of meaning of the name Kappa, and I'm required not to speculate beyond what's documented. I want to highlight this because for anyone who's ever tried to just build something like Kappa themselves have probably ran into the challenge of having the AI chat bot just make up answers. And something that I really enjoyed when we installed Kappa on the Envoy sites was that if it didn't have the right answers, it didn't make stuff up. And it also didn't make... Also, I tried to ask it completely other things, right? About Taylor Swift or cats and things like that, just to see what would happen. And it doesn't engage in those conversations, which is amazing. And it may seem trivial to fix those little holes, but I think, if I'm not wrong, it does take quite a lot to make sure that these solutions actually are user-friendly and safe, and it's not just a, let me call a chat completions API with a bit of context. Or is it?
I wish, man. I wish it was that easy. No, I guess it's a really interesting point you bring up, because it's our number one competitor too. It's folks that think, hey, this seems like a fun thing to go build in-house. And what you described plays out in every single conversation. It's a team that's maybe set aside a time during a hackathon to try to spin up a prototype. And like products like Kappa are deceptively fun to build and deceptively easy to get to like a 70%, like 70% completion rate. And then the last 30% of like getting something that's like polished and ready to prod, and like to your point, like knows kind of when it should stick to sources, but then can also use like a little bit of the magic of like the latent knowledge built into LLMs, which is fantastic and you should totally use. And then is good at writing and like, you know, all these things, and is able to like easily hook up to your knowledge sources and work with those regardless of format. Like there's so much engineering, like harness work around that. That it's like almost every day I talk to someone that's been like building and spinning up a version of this, only to for good reason realize, hey, our 5 really talented like LLM capable engineers probably shouldn't run up and spin up a version of Kappa. They should stay focused on building what they only them can do for a company. And there's so much amazing like AI interface work that every company should be heavily indexing and building and so on. But yeah, so to your point, Erica, spot on.
And because I built a very simple thing to learn myself. I built a very simple ask AI about me thing, because the reason I wanted to build something very small was because if I And it was only professional, because I wanted to ask about my
Yeah.
professional experience, because that was a very limited and small knowledge base, right? And because it was about me, I would very easily know if the answers were incorrect if I asked. Yeah. And I wanted to learn how I could make it safe. So if I asked about Taylor Swift, how I could make sure it didn't answer something inappropriate. And it was actually surprisingly complicated with this very small knowledge base and a very narrow set of questions that were allowed, right? I only wanted to be allowed to ask professional questions about my professional background. And maybe I didn't architect it in a good way. Who knows? But I do think just that very simple thing to try and make it safe and constrained gave me an appreciation for the complexity of building something that is not just your knowledge base. You are creating a platform to which people can plug in their data and their systems and also configure. It gave me an appreciation for the complexities that it takes to not just build something for yourself, but also create a platform upon which other people can plug in their data. But I'll have a curious question.
By the way, your intuition, not to interrupt, your intuition is spot on, actually. It's spot on. Like what you did when you built that prototype is how we work too. So what you essentially described is you almost like wrote a set of like test cases, or maybe you just tried asking the same questions like a few times, and then you changed the prompt a little bit, or maybe you changed how you like handle the model or handle the retrieval. You just kind of change some small parameters, and then you try the same questions again. If you just play that out at a much bigger scale, that's exactly how we still operate and build Kappa, and constantly improve it when new models come out and try new approaches and so on. Like from our side, just instead of a couple of, test cases, we have so many, and these are sourced from working with lots and lots of real folks at, Envoy, for example, to understand when cases break, when they fail, and so on. So we can very, very quickly keep improving Kappa day by day, just a little bit, in lots of different directions. So your intuition of test cases and then improving from that, spot on.
And it's tricky because I also feel like embeddings are probably one of the most underappreciated tools in AI system or feature architecture.
Yeah, but I think the big unlock for
LLMs. Or it's not just about chat completions, if you put it that way. It's also about the vector databases and the embeddings. How many?
For sure.
Weird question. I know we probably get to this, or maybe not. But how many different models are you leveraging? Do you just use a couple, or do you use tens of them, or how do you think about this?
This keeps changing every few weeks when the approach to how you build Kappa and how you architect the system changes. Right now, the average Kappa question, just normal, if you ask it a question for Otto or so on, triggers between 5 to 10 different LLM calls.
Wow. I had no idea that it was that. But in your system as a whole, regardless of just one question, but you leverage a lot of different things then.
Yeah, exactly. You need for sure different models for different use cases and different types of questions and so on. They all have their pros and cons. So it's really I think it's one of these, to your point in the beginning, it's we're still so freaking early in this space. And I think people only now are beginning to just appreciate that every LLM almost has their own personality and can work as their own building block and has trade-offs, whether it's accuracy, speed, latency, competency, ability to cite, all these things. And that's also why it's freaking awesome building these things, and why everyone should go build a system a bit like Kapa to understand it, because it is so fun. It is so fun to work with these.
So you've obviously been doing this for quite some time at this point. I mean, it's a long time in this space, right? What were some if you look back at the last few years,
Yeah.
what have been challenges you, I mean, you never expect the challenges, but in hindsight, what are challenges do you think were, curious or fascinating? Like, oh, that was something that really made me think differently.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a great question. I think the two things that immediately pop to mind are like stumbling upon like Kappa's ability to say, I don't know. And then also like kind of having to like discover how to do evaluations for a
Okay.
system like Kappa. Maybe quickly on the first one. So by
Yeah.
sheer luck, like one of the first versions we built of Kappa, for whatever reason, kind of over-indexed a little bit on saying, I don't know the answer to that question, similar to what
Okay.
you just experienced. And this was just, I don't know, that was the flavor of the prompt we wrote at the time in the like one of the
Okay.
first versions of Kappa. And I don't know, we just did like very YC stuff. We did tons of user interviews, like, hey, did you like this? Which is a good answer. And people kept telling us like, oh, we loved when it said, I don't know. Like this is so different from all these other systems I keep using because they actually say, oh, I might not quite know the answer, but here's like 7 things you can go try, and they all were wrong. So we, I think, stumbled upon the realization early on that like a big value prop of a system like Kappa is us getting really, really good at knowing when Kappa should actually just admit defeat and say, you know what, I'd rather say I don't know. But it's pure luck. And kind of surprising because, like, I don't know, if you told me up front, I would have said, well, you should have it be kind of helpful and so on. But saying I don't know builds trust.
I
The
think
other
that is
thing,
really interesting, and actually, it is it rhymes with a lot of marketing research, because in marketing, it says that if a product has a bunch of green ticks but a couple of red ticks, it is more trustworthy than a product that doesn't. So if you have a sneaker that says it has all of these features, but it doesn't have a couple of others, it is more likely to be trusted and bought than a sneaker that just has a list of things it can do. That's been some marketing research like that. So it actually validates what you experienced.
that's really interesting.
So yeah,
that's really hey. That's no, honestly, that just made me think for a second. That's really interesting, Erica. I didn't realize.
So good news that the human psychology seems to work consistently in various fields. So okay, and then the next part was now I was on sneakers in my head. So the surprising part about Kappa says no, and then the other part was
evaluations.
Evaluation in what way?
So if you think about like version 1 of Kappa, built, I don't know, a little bit more than 2.5 years ago, that was pretty simple, straightforward, like version of RAG, right? You just connect some LLM, expose some data sources, dump them in a vector store. Someone like Erica asked the question on the Envoy docs, Kappa runs out, tries to find like similar, like tries to find like some like similar like docs in like the knowledge corpus, runs them through like hybrid search, and then like I don't know, just generates a nice answer. It's a super vanilla RAG. Then a new like embeddings model comes out, or like a new, like a new, I don't know, the new like Sonnet model drops, or like something like that, right? And you immediately want to try to go improve the Kappa system. This has played out pretty much every single day for the last 2.5 years. You wanting to improve the system, right? And like a new approach, like the space is moving so fast, right? New approach to like multi-step RAG, like using reasoning, all this stuff. It's so hard. Because once you have something live in production to, uses off a CNCF project, you definitely don't want to like risk making it worse. You only want to ship an improvement to a system like Kappa when you know it's meant better. But the thing is, these systems are non-deterministic, right? These are LLMs. So like, well, what is your judgment of quality? Really hard. So we I think, took a bet very, 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 very early on, almost before anyone was talking about evals, to say, well, this seems like a thing we should test because we have all these users that are relying on Kapa and we can't just like vibe test everything into prod. So we built, I don't know, 2.5 years ago, like our own eval suite from the ground up, and like went through lots of iterations for how to do this. It keeps evolving. It's like very proprietary. It's like if there's like our core secret sauce is how we do evals and how we run all this. Because to our part where Kapa is today, it's like, cool, you give me a new model, like 5.1 drops 2 weeks ago, you know, the new Opus model comes out, like, you know, now two-step RAG is, you know, fast, like all these cool new paradigms like keep happening, and like how to build a system like Kapa. Like we can throw our researchers at this and they can spend, you know, an hour or two like implementing a new system, quickly running a like long evaluation suite, and like very quickly we have a strong opinion about a new model that might work really well on like you know, like a traditional like engineering benchmark, but it actually does horrible for a real world use case like Kapa, which is just to answer questions about your product. And that's what people like, you know, use Kapa for. That's the trust they have in our system. So that's kind of the promise we also have to deliver on. But this was not obvious at the time. That like,
so you started that really early. That was a really valuable investment for you to make. And how quickly did you realize that was a bad? How quickly did you realize that that was a valuable investment?
I think the reason I laugh is like my co-founder still makes fun of this like one really, really jank PR. I just think I merged like a month into Kapa system. Like, I don't know, I think I'd seen some like dumb Twitter thread like, hey, you know, you could do like graph rag, but like in a custom way where you like parse all the chunks through an LLM and you generate like entity relationships, and then you use like, there was some way you could build a system like this to like improve the accuracy. And I had like implemented this in our like first version of Kapa as like one of the second iterations, and it worked really well in my like 3 test questions that I kept like testing the Kapa system on. And that gave me enough confidence to push this to prod. And at the time, I think Kapa was active for maybe 5 projects. And within like an hour, people started complaining that like Kapa had gotten terrible. And it was because like it over-indexed on these 3 like I don't know, 3 test cases, and it was not a representative sample at all. We clearly had to roll back Kapa, say sorry to a few folks, and then kind of start from scratch again and go like, okay, well, we clearly need to keep improving the system. So like how like we need some sort of framework, some guardrails to like make sure this doesn't happen again. Because
so you kind of it was almost like you knew you had to invest in it.
Exactly.
And that, so you knew it was going to be worthwhile before you even started investing in it. And
with these things, time and time again, it's like it's so hard to have ideas about this until you just like you tinker with stuff and you like go a little bit into the project, and then these, I guess, realizations just stumble upon you.
Do you think that today that there are more tools out there for people who are building AI-powered features today to have evaluation tools? Like you've obviously built your proprietary eval tools for Kapa, but for someone who maybe is building a solution today to have AI features in their solution, do you think they need to build their own eval tool, or do you think that they can buy tools off the shelf that they can help them? I don't know what they may be building, but maybe they have a solution. Like I was tinkering with a funny little thing the other day, for example. I was trying to create a little calendar planning thing that could help me create agendas for meetings. So imagine I was creating an agenda meeting planner app, and I wanted to have AI help me create these agendas. Would I need to create an eval tool for the agenda AI creation process, or could I buy tools off the shelf that could help me? What do you think?
That's a great example. So maybe let's try to build this up by principles. So what would you expect a user to ask to your like calendar agents? Like, what kind of question would you expect them to ask?
I would expect them
or instruction to give.
Yeah, they would say that they're planning a one-on-one meeting with a direct report, and this meeting is specifically to plan their career goals for the first half of 2026, say. So
Nice.
maybe somewhere then in my little system, I have actually, because I probably have some templated back in the system, like templated meeting templates. So I also then have descriptions for those templates, which I've used for embedding. So I've used embeddings for those. So for the prompt, I will first use embeddings to try and figure out, match them up, to then go to my templates, and I will go and find my templates to then use the right templates, combine them, and then use the AI, use the templates to create the agenda. That is by the way, this was what I was playing around with on the weekend, by the way, because that's how I sort of thought about creating templates, then have like descriptions of the templates and use the prompt and break down the prompt and embed the prompt to actually then get context. Sorry, now I'm describing my little idea on how I would build the calendar planning. Great. I don't know if I'm having a good architecture for this idea. Emil, this is not what the live stream's about.
No. But I think this, hopefully this is interesting. But like I think you're honestly, you nailed it there, which is to build a system like this. The first thing I would suggest always doing is like just start really small. Just go like, hey, here are the 5 kinds of like interactions or questions or like things I expect a user to type into a chat interface. That could be, Erica, to your point, like make me a simple one-on-one agenda with like my direct report to like catch up on, I don't know, like OKRs.
Yeah.
It's like, cool, that's your input. And then in your app, like what is the expected output?
Yeah.
Is that like just like a 5 bullets explaining like, hey, here's what I hope? Is it like actually assuming like what date it should go into? Like what do you hope it to do? And then you start by writing like 5 very concrete examples of like, well, here's an easy one, like a one-on-one agenda. I expect it to do well. It should just do 5 bullets, blah, blah, blah. But then you can do a really hard one at the end, which is like, coordinate a workshop for these teams or something like that, right? That requires pulling in tons of context.
So you create like complicated like test cases, you think?
Exactly. And then you start like, I mean, it's like good old test-driven development that's like it's taught in like every like software engineering 101 kind of class, right? You start with like failing test cases that don't work, and then you try to implement like version 1, maybe with the architecture you describe, and you realize, okay, my first AI system can kind of solve these 2 cases, so it's already kind of a nice system. But to be able to do this crazy workflow stuff, I need to like it's not enough with like a simple RAG system that's finding templates. I need like reasoning agents and sub agents and like crazy data connectors that respect user level permissions to only get like the right docs from this or that and so on. I'll pause there, but hopefully that's helpful for building intuition.
So are there tools out there that can help me with this?
There are tools that can allow you to like put the test cases in and then run them. But I would say that is kind of the 1%, the 99% of the tricky part. So we use, for example, something like Brain Trust. That's awesome. That's helpful. Our friends over at like LangChain have built awesome like tooling to do something similar. But just to set expectations, like the tooling it's still very nice to have. The hard part is like sitting down, writing the evals, and actually having opinions about how a system like this should behave, and then writing lots of test cases.
So, Emil, I do have some obviously questions for you. I feel like we have touched on the questions I've written down for you, because I had like the advice to builders, which I don't know if this was advice you would give to builders, which was around testing. Is this advice you would give to builders?
It's the number one thing. It's like, it's just like, and the thing is like test sounds kind of like, I don't know, tests, they have a bad rep. Like, like test sounds kind of boring or lame or whatever, but like really like evals in any kind of AI driven product isn't a test. It's actually like your system definition. that manifests itself through like lots of prompting and complex systems, but like the way to think about an AI system is really like there's an input and there's an ideal output. And then however you build the system in between doesn't really matter too much. You just need to like constantly improve on it and like use the latest and greatest models and trends and approaches and frameworks and so on. But like just ground yourself in like, here's kind of what a user should be asking or wanting to do with my product. And here's the output that that I expected to give, whether that's structured JSON or a message or like a decision to go down one path in an agent tree or the other. All this stuff you can break down. But start there, and then once you have like even just a few cases in place, like go build your actual system.
And then there's a lot of things that can happen between the input and the output. And that can get quite complicated. And then I wanted to ask you, obviously, where do you see the space heading? Because a lot has changed since you started Kappa.
Yeah.
If nothing else, context windows has dramatically changed. But let's not dwell on the past. And what is exciting you next? Is there something that has recently happened that you don't feel you've really capitalized on yet? Or is this something that is on the horizon that is exciting you, that you believe is going to enable Kappa to get to sort of the next level, that's going to get like what's next? Or is this something, that is, sort of next is in the works that you're super excited about? Yeah. And anything that, that will transform Kappa's capabilities that you are really excited about?
Yeah. It's a great question. Maybe three things. Like one, just the pace of like model progress. It's so awesome. It's like every time a new model comes out, like, I don't know, one or two things that you've been trying to do, or like one or two tricky problems you've been trying to solve for like a year or 2 years. Now you can do that. But it's like, it's very incremental. It feels like, you get a new cool model to play with or a new cool approach, like every couple of weeks. And every time like things just like tend to get like a little bit better over time. That's awesome. So I like play this out for another couple of years. Like, who knows where this is going? It's really exciting. For us, it just means like Kappa can just do a little bit more all the time. The second part is like maybe in terms of where Kappa's going. I think the really exciting part about kind of being in the space we're in is very early on, and also how you're using, Kappa in an Envoy context. We just built what our friends asked for, which was, hey, wouldn't it be helpful if you could like put an assistant on our documentation and answer questions?
Yeah.
And we were kind of looking for an idea. So we said, you know what? It kind of sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
It turns out that once you start there, there's so many interesting things to build for companies. So where Kappa is essentially evolving to is just a platform for pretty much any team at a company to go build any sort of AI experience grounded in their product knowledge, whether that's their support teams at Mixpanel that rely on their internal version of Kappa to answer tons and tons of like technical questions, whether it's the like product team at Bamboo Lab that's building AI directly into their printers, whether it's, all the cool CNCF and Apache projects out there that are making it easier for their users to onboard quickly to their projects by just putting Kappa front and center on their documentation site.
Because you have
really
the APIs as well that people can integrate with. So that's how people can build solutions directly on top of Kappa. Yeah.
Exactly.
And is agents a thing for you guys?
For sure. And like where we see this is moving, and our strong thesis is like the tooling around building agents is so lightweight and to a large extent not really needed. Most people and companies we work with, they just build their own tooling to orchestrate and manage agents. The one thing they don't build is really interesting and exciting context to pass to those agents to make the right decisions at the right time. And it turns out a lot of those need to be grounded in your product information and your knowledge and so on. So for a lot of companies today already, Kappa is a really, really important tool call and really, really important step in a lot of agent chains. We also use agentic approaches, to use the buzzword. It just means like, I guess, subsequent tool calls within Kappa to answer every single question. So agents is very much a
so that's also like a thing. I find that fascinating how I feel like agents has been such a theme over the last 6 months. So I kind of felt compelled to ask how that was fitting into the world of Kappa. And as I said, by the way, if there's anyone who's listening who has any, as we're running out of time, if there's anyone who has any pressing questions for Emil, feel free to drop them in the questions. If you are on LinkedIn, I'm sure he will see them. If he doesn't get a chance to say anything now, he can come back and answer them in the comments on LinkedIn later, because he can see them. So don't worry, he can come, and I'm signing him up for coming and checking out the comments later. But also, if you are listening to this as a recording and a replay, and you leave a comment, and you tag Emil, he can also see that, and he can come and answer it later as well. So I'd highly encourage you to do that. And we have covered most of the things that I wanted to cover, which is great, by the way. And we have covered the backstory of the name of Kappa. And I do, as we are running out of time, I want to say that there's a wonderful thing about Kappa that we did not talk about, which is the sort of the back end or backside or admin of Kappa. There is this weird thing that happens when people read your documentation and they can't find what they're looking for, and then they chat with Kappa, and sometimes you have the feature they couldn't find. You know how I said that Kappa saves you time, right? I said that at the beginning, Emil, but it's not entirely true. There is something, sometimes it's not entirely true. I lied partially, because what happens when people have the ability to talk to the documentation, they start asking for things. They start saying, how do you do blah, 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 blah. And sometimes this thing that they want to do doesn't exist. And then what Kappa does is it starts labeling these things as unsupported features. And then you suddenly start having a backlog of things to build. And you know what then? All those hours that it says you saved. So does AI take your job and save you hours? Or does it create work, Emil? Does it really create work? Create more work? I'm not sure. Does it just shift work from one place to another? So don't be afraid of Kappa taking your job from answering people's questions. That's not what's going to happen. You will have other things to do, like implementing all of the features that you now realize people want. By the way, Emil, that's what I've realized, that don't be afraid. There's definitely things to do. So
I think you nailed it, Erica. Isn't
it? Have you ever had that worry, Emil, that people are worried that Kappa's going to take all of their support work away from them? Someone who's really passionate about.
I think most teams share exactly the sentiment you have, which is everyone is overworked and underpaid and has too much on their plate. If you can use a system like Kappa to save you from answering the share of questions that, a system like Kappa could probably answer because it's documented somewhere already, then that's a great use of everyone's time. So you can spend more time actually improving the underlying product and documentation based on insights from a system like Kappa. That's also kind of more fun.
Yeah, it's a little bit more fun than saying, well, it was over there in that piece of documentation. But here is a QR code for going to Kapa.ai. And if you go to docs.Kapa.ai, you can actually try out Ask Kappa if you're into that. And you can try and ask Kappa about its name, and it will not answer. And you can also connect with Emil on LinkedIn. Here's the QR code for that. So you can check out Emil and connect with him, especially if you want to find out more about Kappa and see how you can put Ask AI on your documentation site. And that is not hard at all, actually. It's surprisingly easy. and it's really fun, by the way. It's you can find out things that you didn't even really realize about your own solution. So I've really I'm been really delighted using Kappa on the Envoy side. I'm really grateful to have had you here today, Emil, and I'll show a couple more QR codes because here's my LinkedIn. Erica, if you're not connected with me, you can connect with me. And I work at a company called Tetrate, and this is a link for the Tetrate agent router. And if you sign up to that, you can get $5 free credits to try that out. So please try it out. And if you have any problems, please connect with me, and I'm happy to help you with how to use it. And hopefully it's easy, but I'm happy to help you out. And but yeah, Emil, any last words? Any last words? That sounds terrible. Any things you want to you say as we wrap up and say goodbye here today?
No, thanks so much for hosting a wonderful conversation, Eric. I really appreciate it. Thanks for saying lots of nice things, and hopefully this was at least interesting to one person, and I'm happy.
Yeah, well, it was interesting to me, and we had some lovely people, especially joining from Europe and from London, and we had you joining. So yeah, thank you so much, and have a good rest of your day, everyone.